There are two active ghosts in the house. One attacks the camera at any opportunity it can get. It comes and goes very quickly. The other ghost is female, that originally plays around with the camera, but eventually becomes sad and even tormented. The diary notes scattered around the house suggest that a spirit tormented the lady who lived at this address back in 1936. A picture found in the hall features women in Victorian apparel. There seems to be a cross through one of the women and the word goodbye. This picture could be a clue that someone in the 19th century planned to murder several specific women at this address. However, something went wrong and the murderer killed all but one of his targets. The murderer was killed by his victim with a shovel in an act of self-defense. The burial was quick in order to avoid the police asking questions, and the murderer is dumped with his victims in the back garden. Several years pass from the 1800s and we reach 1936. A young woman who is an aspiring writer moves into the murder house to start a new life. She's not aware of the house's dark past, and her first day is fine. The village is pleasant and the house, while needing some maintenance, is comfortable. But then the night falls and it all goes wrong. The woman documents in her diary the strange things that begin to happen. There are noises in the night, strange shovel-like noises. It might just be nothing, but then the voices begin. It looks like the murderer ghost has awoken. The new resident happens to be wearing a pretty black dress as she goes to bed, just like the woman who originally killed him. The murderer realises that while he is no longer a physical entity and now something that is ethereal, he must complete his work though, in order to be at peace and enjoy the fruits of his labour. He sets about spooking the poor writer. The writer turns to her bookshelf for a distraction. The ghost trashes it. The writer turns to her music box for some comfort. The ghost breaks it. The woman makes herself some food to take her mind off things. The ghost makes her smash the plates. The woman sits at the piano and plays a nice soothing tune to maybe forget it all. The ghost smashes the piano. Every time the woman tries to comfort herself and put herself at peace, the ghost takes it away and breaks her a little bit more. The woman has a meltdown by the rising of the sun, and she flees before the ghost could finish her. Over the next 5 years, the woman is completely broken and she's scared of touching a comforting object, knowing it will be snatched away from her. In the end, she has enough for her. She is sick of people calling her weak and stupid. Tonight she will return and she will prove that ghost existed. Armed with a camera and her journal, the woman seeks to bring this ghost's existence into the public eye. However, the ghost has been waiting for her over the past 5 years. When the woman arrives, things are initially quiet. But then, is that a shovel? Quickly the woman takes a photo of it, but then it vanishes in a thunderclap. The woman goes to her old bedroom and sees the music box is still broken, but sat next to it is a shovel. This time the shovel moves and chases the woman around the room. She takes another photo and the shovel vanishes. A Polaroid is printed from her camera, but nothing shows up. The woman sits on the bed and has a little sob. Perhaps she was imagining it. But then she hears a digging noise and whispering. It's coming from the garden. The woman picks up a candle and slowly makes her way through the dining room and towards the garden. As she gets closer, the garbled whispering gets louder. A sense of panic takes over. She runs to the garden, but she has no control of her body now. She feels compelled to walk to the garden, though her higher judgment knows not to. Before she knows it, she's looking at a grave in the garden, full of skeletons. The whispering is now almost deafening. A thunderclap kabooms and a flash of lightning that's when she sees it. A tall, translucent green man with withered white hair digging a grave. He's very occupied in his work and not even looking at the woman. He has paid her no heed. He's muttering to himself, though. He seems somewhat excited. The woman takes the opportunity to take a photo and slip away unnoticed while the ghost excitedly prepares the grave. She lifts up the camera, aims it, and takes the photo, but the camera creates a huge flash and a noise. She did not time it with the thunderclaps like she should have. The man quickly snaps to stare at the woman. He emits a loud, garbled, speaking noise, and now floats with great speed towards her. The woman cannot move out of pure fear, and the man goes straight through her. The woman turns around with her back now facing the grave, and the man comes in for another charge, this time preparing to swing the shovel. Once more the lady cannot move, and that's the end of her life. She is smacked with the shovel, falls into the grave, filled with skeletons, and dies upon impact. But because no one cared about this mad lady, her death goes unreported and uncared about. Those 5 years, everyone had given up on her, but because of this, it ruined the murderer's plot to achieve his peace. For you see, the murderer thrived on making his murders public. He would purposefully make sure his murders were elegant, precise, and planned so he could get the maximum attention for it. He would make sure he was top suspect, but his position as village alderman and connections with the criminal underworld meant he could alter or create evidence, which meant that deaths would never get pinned on him and just be on some poor vagrant. The ego trip continued until his sudden death on his final murder. However, there was no ego trip on the murder in 1941 because no one knew he did it. He couldn't make himself top suspect. No one cared about the poor deceased woman, so he could not assume his final peace. And even worse, because the woman died with no one caring about her, and even her bones did not get a proper rest, her spirit must now relive the 2 fateful nights of 1936 and 1941 every night, while the spirit of the murderer endlessly tortures her out of spite. And now we return to the present day. As the nights go on, the camera, who never lies, starts to pick up the paranormal activity as the operator watches with growing interest. But on that fateful night of which this game took place, it is going to witness another night of abuse of a poor victim ghost. The torture gets more intense as the night goes on. The ego-tripping murderer ghost suddenly notices the camera, however, and he sees another opportunity for peace. He lightly attacks the camera, just enough to scare the operator, but not enough to scare him away. The operator will now relentlessly try to document these ghosts while endlessly trying to get upgraded patches from his boss, who is very reluctant at first, but then little money signs appear in his head, and he realizes what he could do. Everyone is playing into the murderer ghost's hands as he laps up all the attention, but he can't finish it yet. He needs that piece de resistance. He continues to torture the poor victim ghost and forces her to tell the story through the notes in her diary. The operator reads it with growing interest and begins to piece together what's happened, but the murderer ghost manages to keep his role a mystery thanks to some strategically deleted pages. He never lets on his true intention. At the peak of the activity, when the operator witnesses the tortured soul of a girl attacked with a shovel and falls into the back garden's grave, the murderer ghost knocks the camera out. Desperate not to lose his evidence and all that money he could make from proving the existence of ghosts, and sheer greed of his supervisor, who now demands he goes retrieve the camera or faces losing his job, the operator foolishly runs out of his nearby surveillance van straight to the house. The camera operator, though, is armed only with his torch and a spare detached camera which he quickly borrowed from the spare parts box. Everything has gone according to the murderer's plans. His peace is now about to be upon him. All he needs to do is a quick haunted house routine, scare the camera operator, then kill him, and the photo evidence will be tucked away nicely in the shed with the door for the police to find. Now, this will provide the ego boost, and showing off all his previous murders had... The operator then enters the house, a decision he quickly regrets as the male ghost appears out of every corner, and then as one last act of extreme cruelty before he does the deed, he takes the female ghost and whispers to her. She becomes solid. She has tears streaming down her face and looks completely defeated. The murderer ghost hands her a shovel and whispers into her ear, "Do what you did to me, or you'll be spending the next 100 years trapped in a cycle of torture. This is the only way you can be at peace." She has no choice and she picks up the shovel, laughing while she does it. The tortured ghost knows that killing this poor fool standing over her grave will break her free from that evil spirit. Yes, it will corrupt her own spirit, but it is a small price to pay to end 75 years of endless torture. And she begins to pursue the operator as he tries to flee when he notices her. Fueled by her desire to end it all, she begins to use her ghostly powers to an extent she did not even know she could achieve. She teleports, she floats, she takes corporeal form, and even worse, she grabs the operator and shows her the face of hell. The operator is now completely and totally psychologically broken and he stumbles towards the grave, and then with one clean smack the tortured soul finishes it. The murderer has got his peace, and with his odiously smug face he leaves the tortured soul to forever dwell with the guilt which will come with her murder. And now a new ghost will rise from that grave, and he will never let her forget what she had done.